Welcome to the Action Shooting Show. This show is brought to you by Primer & Co. Tonight, as a lot of times, we have Mike Ford, and we have a special guest on tonight, Bosco Wang. So I was going to let him introduce himself here.
Okay. My name is Bosco. I usually do the run and guns with the Ellis down in the Carolinas. I went down to Guardian and just tried it out for the first time. I did a tally today, and my first run and gun was actually in June of 2020, and since then I've done about 21 of them. So I'm very fortunate to live in where I live because Ellis does a great job in hosting a lot of them throughout the year, and the majority of mine are through him. And then I'll go down to Riverbend with Bruce Perry. And then this weekend, I'm actually going down to 17 South with Tim and Brian to do Sweat and Bullets. So glad to be here. I got my mandatory refreshment with my AK Draco mug and the in honor of Jimmy Nutt, who was not there.
All right, and that sounds good. Yeah, we're lucky somewhat, here in Ohio, we've got, I know, at least 3 solid run and guns a year that are within a 5-6 hour drive. Yeah, if you live a little further south, there's definitely a lot more of them. If you live out towards Oklahoma, Texas, you've got a lot more options. But yeah, if you live too far west, there's not a whole lot without, really driving or flying. So, or even more up north. So, yeah, it's spreading. It's not spreading fast enough. So, yeah, Bosco kind of mentioned this is going to be an after-action report on the Guardian threequel. So this is the 3rd year for the Guardian run and gun. That is down in Owenton, Kentucky, at the Elk Creek. Is it the Elk Creek Gun Club But it's like I think it's most hunt club. It's a sporting clays club, and they got some hunting related stuff. I know they said they have some fields they hunt, but it's an awesome place, and we're gonna get right into that. Anyone got anything to say before we get into the match flavor?
It was wet,
Okay.
very, very, very wet. Maybe that's the match flavor.
Yeah. Yeah. So Guardian every year, it's a 5K. They only have one distance. The best way, I think Mike has described it, if anyone shot the like Heartbreak, it's like Heartbreak's 10K, except you just fold it up like an accordion. So if you're not going up a hill at Guardian, you're going down a hill. I know my watch showed 3.7 miles this year. I shut off, so it may have been, or it paused at one point, but 3.7 miles, and I got 2,000 feet of elevation change in that distance, and a couple other people had very similar distances. So this year, the match, their kind of theme was firearms proficiency. So it was a challenging match, to say the least. I think you'll hear more about that when we get into the different stages, but it was not an easy match. It was very easy, especially with pistol, to burn through a whole lot of ammo. See, Mike, you got anything to add to the flavor here?
Guardian is a good time. They definitely like throwing some interesting challenges at you, as we'll discuss, that you see on the course that I don't know if other running guns have had yet. But they're always down to kind of think outside of the box, and I look forward to seeing what they'll come up with next year. I even heard hints that people want to see zip lines. Those guys are probably just about crazy enough to try something like that.
And Bosco, you got anything to add to that match flavor?
It's my first time at Guardian. I knew what to expect. A lot of, like, last year they had the VTAC board with the colors, so I was expecting some intel requirements, but definitely was not disappointed. I decided to do the operator class for whatever bizarre reason. But I was happy to finish it, and it definitely added a different element to the race that I've never done before.
Yeah, and I was going to mention that. So there was the light division, which is what most people do. It's just whatever gear you feel like bringing. There's no weight requirements. There's no gun restrictions, anything like that. You just need a centerfire rifle, centerfire pistol, and your ammo to get through. The other division was the what do they call it? The operator. And you had to carry, someone will have to refresh me, 40 pounds of kit? Not
you dry before the race. They weighed you weighed in, and then you had to weigh 40 pounds more at the end of the match.
okay.
Not counting guns.
Not counting guns. So
Right.
you can count ammo and water, but if you burn through too much ammo and water in the match, you will be under 40 pounds and have done a lot of extra work for no reason. So,
Right.
and I think that was for everyone 150 pounds over. If you're
Right.
under 150 pounds, it was 25 pounds or something like that.
I don't know this.
Yeah,
I think it's 30 pounds for anyone under.
Okay. I think that's a pretty good idea, because you have some tough ladies out there, but they're 120 pounds and 40 pounds is a lot. So that's a good way to keep it fair. All right, so 2 divisions and 1 distance is what you expect, and that's been the same for the last couple years. What they do in the future, who knows, but that's what it's been so far. Gear used or gear needed? Bosco, let's start with you. Why don't you kind of shake out some of your kit, what you brought on the course this year?
Sure. My rifle was a Lead Star Grunt. Pretty much bone stock from Lead Star. If you don't know, is a company that is also owned by the same company for PSA, and the Grunt is their intro level competition rifle. So it comes with a Geisley enhanced duty trigger, a really nice quad rail, a handguard, extended charging handle, all that stock. I decided to put a SIG Tango 4 with an offset, 45-degree offset right on this side. I am a lefty, and that's why it's on this side. Pistol wise, I shot a CZ P10, P10C with a slide cut done by Race City Design, with a compensator and a flashlight, and a Hollow Sun, early generation Hollow Sun 507C. And it's so early that the battery is underneath, and I'm about to retire it because it's just, it's about due. Kit wise, I shot a belt from Wilder Tactical. Great bunch of guys, really supportive of the run and gun community. Their company out in Gastonia, North Carolina. That's about it for the main pieces of kit. Oh, I guess I had a 30 Go Ruck pack.
Okay, good deal. To hit your weight.
Yep.
And see, I didn't know that PSA owned Lead Star because is that within the recent past? Because I don't think they've always owned Lead Star, correct?
Don't know when they acquired it. It's JJE. I think JJ Enterprises or something like that is the main company that is the PSA brand.
Okay.
Don't know when they acquired Lead Star, but they've had it for maybe a year. I think maybe a year or so.
Okay, because I know I met some of the Lead Star guys like way back in 3 Gun Nation days, and oh yeah, that's cool. They make good kit, so it's nice to see. And PSA seems to be making a name for themselves, a good name for themselves. So that's good to see that. Mike, you want to go over your kit real quick? Anything you want to share about that?
All right, so I ran a 40-pound ruck using my Everstock gun runner that I've been using now for a little while. It worked out real well. I'm going to try a little bit of a different configuration for carrying mags and stuff for Legion, just because it took a little bit longer to admin mags than normal for me. And then for my rifle, I ran my 16-inch run and gun rifle with a Razor Gen 3 and a 12 o'clock top dot. That worked out pretty well. 16-inch unsuppressed. Worked really well for the VTAC. And a G45 with aim-point acro. So pretty much my normal setup. Didn't run any magazines on my belt this time, and just worked strictly out of the chest rig, and then used a drop to get my holster below the belt on my ruck. So I'll probably run a very similar kit for Legion.
Good deal. And that's an interesting takeaway, and that Mike's been doing this for about as long as anyone on the East Coast here. He's been doing the East Coast one since the beginning, and you constantly do make changes to kit and kind of find kind of what works better for you and what doesn't. And there's always some little tweaks or improvements you can do. So my kit kind of stayed fairly regular. I use my Staccato P with a 507 on it. My belt's just an ELS. It's what I use for 3-gun. I'm going to step up to a better belt at some point, but I just haven't found what I want. RDR gear, chest rig, micro chest rig. So I'm able to hold 4 pistol mags, 3 rifle mags, really nothing else. I don't know if I have that close. Actually, give me 1 second here, because I'm going to show one new kit thing. So this is an idea I had recently, and I didn't need to use it, but I'm going to kind of share this for other people. So if you see, there's, from the top, there's a little piece of kind of silver and a lanyard. And if you pull on that lanyard, you just have a, what we call a church key for opening paint cans. But the alternate to this, and I have not needed this yet, but I think this is not a bad idea for keeping in your running gun kit, is if you have a failure to extract for some reason inside your AR, like really hard to get out case, you can actually reach this inside your chamber, grab the rim, and help pull it out. So it kind of fits back there in my kit, stays put, and I've seen people carry these. I've not seen anyone carry it that way. So pass that along. Maybe it's something people can use. I'm kind of a firm believer that if you have something like that in your kit, you will never, ever need to use it. You're just carrying around an extra ounce or 2 of weight. But, man, if you do need it, it'll be worth its weight in gold. Rifle.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have my right. What's that?
Got the same thing on my. I got the same thing on my Wilder.
Good deal. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of ways to carry it, but having some kind of extraction tool is not a bad idea. So, and then my rifle, which is pretty much the rifle I've been using, kind of like Mike. I've got a top dot. I've got the Athlon 1-10, the Air Ace ETR. So it's first focal plane 1-10. The top dot on it as well. And I don't think I kind of call them out enough, but I'm running the RCA bolt carrier group. They have helped both me and Mike in our shooting career. There's no like signed on official sponsorship, but they do a lot for the sport, and they've helped me out a lot, and they're just good people. So take a look at their bolt carrier groups if you're buying if you need one, because the black nitride is pretty awesome. I don't clean my gun a lot, but when the rare occasion that I do, all the carbon and crap just wipes right off. So I'm a pretty big fan of those. But besides for that, and geez, my good sponsorship, Code Evolution Handguard. So those guys have sponsored me for a couple years now. They make an awesome product, and honestly, for like running gun, this is a really solid handguard, and it lets you take some weight off so that if you want, you have it to, like, my scope's pretty heavy, but it makes a pretty light balanced gun because of that handguard. So definitely want to thank those guys. Besides for that, it's pretty standard kit for me. So I don't think I'll be making any changes before we hit Legion. So all right, of course. It was, like I said,
I think you froze.
I froze.
Yeah, you froze.
Oh. I'm seeing Mike all right, and it may just be on your end. I hope. Can you hear me though still?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the important part. I'm ugly enough you don't really need to see.
From
So
a second ago.
stages, there was 7 stages in this match, which for a 5K is a pretty good amount of stages. I like that. I like more shooting than running, so I think that's pretty awesome. And I guess we'll just start in on the stages. Anyone have anything to add before we start getting into the course and stage 1?
Nope.
Nope. All right, good deal. All right, so the course ran in reverse this year from what they did last year, which was interesting. So you started off running kind of towards the road that you come in on, kind of along the road, but you're not along the road. There's trails that kind of parallel the road, and then you head up into some kind of rough brush, and you have stage 1. I'm actually going to let Mike talk about stage 1 because that was his stage that he RO'd the weekend. So he can kind of tell you about the physical task that you did beforehand and then what you were doing in the stage. So go ahead, Mike.
All right. So stage 1 was about a quarter mile away from the start line, and the train getting there had a little bit of rise and fall, but nothing as crazy as the rest of the course. So you come up to stage 1, and they had a metal drag sled with straps, probably 7 foot, 8 foot long web straps. And you would be required to drag this weighted sled. I would estimate it probably in the 70, 80 pound range. Could have been a little higher, kind of hard to tell dragging. But you drag it probably around 60 feet, 50 to 60 feet. Then you come over and start an all pistol stage. So they had a wall set up that would be in front of the shooter. On the left side of the wall, you had 2 steel torso targets at probably 30-ish feet. Then the right side of the target, or the right side of the wall, there was 2 targets. One was like an 8-inch round, and the other like a half or a third size torso at also around 30, 35 feet. So the shooter would stand in front of that wall, load and make ready, and at the beep, engage the left side target array with their strong hand only. They could not use their support hand in the engagement, and they would have to put 1 round on each target, alternating back and forth. So you couldn't double tap one, but they would get 2 rounds per target. Once they successfully engaged, they would move to the right side and repeat that. And once they had neutralized all targets with their strong hand, they would repeat the drill with their weak hand. So it was a total of 16 pistol hits, 8 with your strong only, and 8 with your weak only. And if they successfully completed that, and they still had time on the clock and ammunition, there was a steel torso, maybe 120 yards away, that they get 3 rounds to shoot at. If they hit it within that 3 rounds, it would be 3 minutes removed off the shots on the shoot clock. Be very costly to your stage time. You're looking at, you could easily add 5 to 10 seconds doing that on a stage where mid to high 40s. and still top 10% on that stage were doing it in less than 70 seconds. So you pause to do that long. It was an optional target that a lot of shooters chose to engage. It was very interesting. I think probably the smartest ones chose to pass on it. But that's something you got to think of in the moment. And, ooh, there's a piece of steel. I better shoot at it. So what do you guys think of that target array? I know that I fell in the 60-odd second crowd and definitely was struggling more than usual. I used about a magazine and a half, and I saw a lot of 23 scenes.
Yeah, I would have to look up my score on that. I did not do that well on that stage at all. I probably burned up way more ammo than I should have. And I took a couple shots at that long range steel, but I bet I didn't burn more than 5 seconds on it. I just aimed, ripped off a couple shots, didn't hit it, and moved on with my life.
Yeah, right.
So,
I like that stage. I tend to do better with offhand shooting or weak hand shooting. I normally write with my left hand, but I pistol right hand, right eye. And then I also shoot my rifle with my left hand, left eye. So I'm just all sorts of messed up. But so that lends to offhand, weak hand shooting, makes it a little easier for me. I think I got 60. I'm looking at the score right now, 62-26, 14th overall, So I did try to hit that plate to evade to no impact, but gotta try. That was a fun stage to start out with. I did not like the drag part. It was no bueno, and I appreciate Michael and his patience with me because every single time I moved, he goes, muzzle, muzzle, and it definitely did help later on, as we'll discuss.
yeah, so one thing, and this is something I guess behind the baseball type. So where that stage was, you were kind of, if you within your you didn't have quite a 180. If you went too far to the left, and it was up a hill a bit, but the road was there. So I know the ROs were kind of not overzealous, but they were kind of forceful on keeping people's muzzle from getting too far up towards the road. It was one of those things. It's not really a big safety. Like, there's very little chances of anyone like pointing their gun at a road and shooting, but to be safe, we made sure everyone kind of kept their muzzle down range. So, yeah, that was, I think Mike did a lot of yelling muzzle that weekend, and that's the kind of things we have to do sometimes to safely have these matches. So I guess I'll add that sled drag is actually off the clock. So for people wondering, and I like that Guardian does this. They have a lot of physical things that are off your shoot clock, but they're on your run clock. And so the main point of that is it's making you do something to get your heart rate up right before you have to shoot the stage. Because you may have people that kind of don't put so much effort into the run, and then they get there and their heart rate's already kind of low. Well, they're going to do something to, even if you're not pushing hard on your run, they're going to get your heart rate up a little bit before you shoot. And yeah, I kind of like that trick that they use to do that. I think it's pretty effective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that stage definitely had a high anxiety risk for me. I wanted to make sure everybody stayed safe, and I was pretty hoarse by the end of the weekend because it's a lot of us trained. We index the pistol up in front of our face to reload. Malfunction clearance, which a lot of people had, pistol malfunctions. You end up kind of going muzzle up and then turn it to try to rack or let the case fall out the ejection port, and that could muzzle up towards the road. So there was a lot of preemptive muzzle shouting to make sure everyone stayed safe and conscious of what they were doing.
Yeah, and I imagine they'll look at that stage a little bit different next year. I know they had a stage there last year, but the way the stage was done, laid out, that was not really an issue. So I'm sure they'll look at that. So once you left that stage, you kind of went down a really brushy, kind of overgrown hill into the woods a bit, up and down through trees, and there was some, I think you went up a creek bed at one point. It was pretty rough going. The thing about a lot of Guardian is it's not a very good runner's match. I mean, if you're a really fast runner, you run super lightweight kit, you're really that, like, kind of, we call them jackrabbits. Some of that terrain is hard to make up good time on. So, I'm not a super fast guy, but I can keep a decent pace most of the time. So really my times weren't nearly as far away from run times as some of the, like, really fast guys that run. I mean, they still got a good 20 minutes on me, or more in some cases, but it wasn't as big of a difference as something like Legion, where a lot of it's kind of open trails, and there's some wood stuff, but it's a little more open, and you're able to make up some time there. So yeah, you headed through that real brushy woods, and you came up to, still in the woods, stage 2. This was really a cool stage. You started seated in a car, so you staged your rifle empty in the back seat on the passenger side. You started in the driver's side, in the car. I think your pistol was already loaded, but the door had to be closed and the seatbelt had to be latched. So on the start beep, unlatch your seatbelt, open the door. You get out of the car, and you have 4 or 5 pistol targets that you engage from behind the car. And I believe, did we do those twice? Did you have to neutralize those both twice?
Yeah.
Okay. So 8 to 10 pistol shots. You holster your pistol, run back around to your passenger side, pull the rifle out, load it. I believe 2 of those targets there had a big X on it, and that was your rifle only targets. So you neutralized those both twice. They did a good job. This is, I guess, something I noticed as a match director. They did a good job with the stages, doing a lot with a little bit of steel. So, in this case, there was only 2 rifle targets, but you had to shoot them twice, and you couldn't just double tap. So you shoot, the left one, then the right one. Then you go back to the left one, then you shoot the right one. Once you did that, you kind of sprinted down into the woods off to the right, or off to the left, sorry. And as you got down there, kind of down the hill to the right, were a couple targets that you then had to neutralize. And I don't really remember how many targets were down there. There was a couple of them. If I'm guessing, you probably did them twice. So that was a pretty fun stage, fairly fast. Shooting, getting out of the car and shooting over it was a lot of fun. So, Bosco, you got anything to add?
No, that was a good stage. It was, I think I really enjoyed it because, it made you kind of concentrate on the shots. And then for me, the second steel plate was kind of obscured by some brush. It took me a little bit of time to find, but once I found it, it was pretty easy to hit. But yeah, it was fun.
Mike, you got anything to add? I'm sure you like that stage.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. I think that it's always fun to get in and out and move around vehicles, because that's something that we don't get to practice at a lot of ranges, whether it's clubs you belong to, or you and your buddies hanging out. Most of us don't want to blow holes in our personally owned vehicles. So to get a car to shoot out of and around of is always a good time. And practicing moving around it is also a really practical skill. So while it's something you don't get to practice, getting in a match is better than not getting in it at all. And the mixture of rifle and pistol is always fun. And then I love that one sprint out into the woods to find that one rifle target. That was a good one, because you're moving pretty quick, but you still got to be heads up looking at where you're going, and then making sure you don't miss the target you're trying to engage. Even with a shoot box, they'll give you like, well, it'll be down there on your right, but to the right is all Kentucky woods. So you got to be heads up and have some sharp eyes. Try to pick it up fast and get that real quick hit in so you can stop that clock.
Yep. Yeah, that was a good stage. So going on, and I failed to mention at the beginning. So one thing they told you before this whole match started was that as you're going through the course, you may see, or you will be seeing, if you look, these signs, just like a yellow sign with red spray paint on it that had a number. They said it would probably benefit you in this match to keep your eye out for those signs and make sure that you write down the numbers that you see on the sign. So other matches do stuff like this. Legion has had similar mind things, or stuff you have to pay attention on the course. This was probably a little more obvious than I think Legion usually does, but yeah, so that these signs came through. That'll come into play in the third stage. Now, my notes here, you guys, is the lake was between 2 and 3, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is now the second year they've done this. This is kind of becoming a staple for Guardian, is that they have a lake, a little pond. I say lake, it's a pond that you get to swim. Last year, there was, I think you either did the swim with your gear or you took a 30-minute penalty. This year, just because of feedback they got, and I really like the change that they made, they gave you 3 different options. The first one, which for all intents and purposes is probably the fastest. You go there, there's a dock, they've got a line that's going across it. They had some harnesses so that you could like hook in if you needed or whatnot. But you take you and your gear, you jump in, you swim across to the other side, you get going on your way to the next stage, to stage 3. The second option, which I think, if I had to guess, was probably the most popular option, was they had a table there. You could stow whatever gear you wanted on that table. You jump in, swim across, come back to that area, get your gear, go back, and head up the hill. The kind of penalty for that was that once you swam through, you've got extra distance and time that you have to go back, get your gear, do whatever, and then kind of backtrack to just where you're at before you go up the hill. That probably took you an extra minute or 2. The third option, which I'd be curious if anyone did it, was no swimming. You completely stay out of the lake or pond, but you have to hike all the way around the pond, which I don't know if I measured. I would guess it adds a good half mile to your match. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least a quarter, if not more, to go around. So you guys can share what you did. I stored my gear, chest rig, belt, rifle, swam across in the rest of my clothes, came back, tossed my book bag in there, tossed that stuff back on and hit the trail. Did either of you guys actually swim with your gear?
Well, we both did operator, so I mean, there's no way I was going to swim an extra 30 pounds.
We were recording.
There's my epic. It didn't work. I was going to show you the video of my yeeting myself into the lake.
Yeah, I think me and Mike had a similar strategy. Just run as far as you can, or run and jump as far as you can, so you got the least amount to swim.
Yeah, well, I used to do a varsity swim team in high school, so swimming was no big deal for me.
Yeah, I'm an okay swimmer, but I actually probably used that rope and kicked and just pulled myself across faster than I could swim. And Mike, I was following Mike, so Mike did a similar thing. You got anything to add to the swim?
Yeah, so the first year with the mandatory swim, I took 2 contractor bags and wrapped my ruck and left a piece of webbing as an umbilical cord out the top of it, and then duct taped the crap out of those bags. And then I clipped it onto the safety line and then did a drag line. It was like 20 feet long. So even if my pack sunk to the bottom, it wouldn't take me with it. And then one thing to note is inside my ruck for internal volume, I use foam yoga blocks. So even though my pack has a 40, 45-pound mass to it, I do my best to give as much positive buoyancy as possible, just as for a safety thing, besides isolating the weight and keeping it from moving. So this year, with that option, I did not take my kit across. I'm pretty confident that if I was running the lightweight class, I could have submerged my rifle and my pistol and probably would have not had any issues. I run my guns pretty wet with heavier lubricants that wouldn't be cut by the water very easy, but it would just take too much time to try to waterproof up the ruck and everything. So I did a very similar thing to Bosco. I did a flying leap off the dock and cannonballed in there, and it feels pretty good, and it's actually pretty amazing what that little drop in core temperature does for your comfort for the rest of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this, and this I noticed this last year. So I'm pretty confident with my kit and stuff. I've never swam with it, but I was at stage 5, which is a couple stages still away from the lake, but I saw a lot of guns not working later in the day. And I asked a couple of the people, and a number of them swam with their guns. So, and these are ARs and pistols, and while your kit should be pretty tough and take a lot, I'm not sure that any of these guns were designed to be completely submerged for extended periods of time and then completely run. Whether it's your ammo getting water in it, whether it's, I mean, this is a pond. It's not like clear water, so it's dark for a reason. There's dirt, there's grit, there's I came out with seaweed on me. Any of that stuff gets in your rifle or your pistol, and it can cause some issues. So both years I've seen people who didn't work hard to keep their guns out of water. I saw them go down. So I'd say it's probably worth it in these events. If you can avoid your guns getting too wet, you're probably better off in the long run. I mean, they may work most of the time, but I don't know that they'll work all the time. So that's my public service announcement from, out last year I saw an AK go down. I saw Glocks not working right, because they had too much water in them and kind of hydro lock. So ARs, it's not any one particular model. It's pretty much any gun that gets enough water and grit in it, it's going to probably give you some fits at some point. So, all right. So you left that, you headed up some hills. There's more hills. There's always hills here. And you came to the tower stage. I remember this stage they did a similar stage here last year. I thought it was awesome last year. I felt like I did pretty well on it last year. And this year, I guess, I must be good at shooting towers, because this was my one stage win for the match. So at the bottom, they ask you if you'd seen any numbers on the course. So you would give them what numbers you had seen. And at this point, there should have been 5 numbers.
3.
Or 3?
Yeah.
Okay. I had seen 2 of them. And was it? I thought it was more than that. I had only found 2. I thought it was maybe 4, because for every number you didn't have, you had to do a sandbag get up. So I had to do 2 sandbag get ups at that point. which it was like a 70-pound bag-ish, similar to what Heartbreak does. And so you had to do those get-ups, and then they ran you through the stage. So again, you're having to do some kind of physical fitness before you go shoot. So once you did that, they explained the stage. You had a ammo can with some weight in it. I don't know how much weight it was. It wasn't crazy heavy. You ran up, I guess, 2 flights of stairs to the first level, and from there, while holding the ammo can, you had to engage down at a pretty steep angle a series of pistol targets, like 5 or 6 of them, I think. Any of you guys remember specifically?
It was three pistol targets, and then you had to hit them 2 times each.
Okay, so there's the 6. So you engage those, or safe your gun or whatever, holster it with the ammo can still in your hand. You run up a couple more flights of stairs to the next level, and you can put the ammo can down at this point. This whole time you've had your rifle slung. I imagine it's the only way to carry it if your hands are full. But your rifle slung, you unsling it, load it, and from that top area, you now had five, I think, targets to engage twice. I did a little online investigating through Google Maps, and it looks like the targets were, in a flat distance about 90 to 100 yards. Does that sound about right to you guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had those, you engaged twice, so around 10 shots, and it was a pretty wide field of view. I mean, you started pretty far to the left, and by the end, you were kind of in the corner of the woods. It was actually a little dark. Some of them were a little hard to see over on the far right side, but you engage those over to the right. So I thought it was a fun stage. What about you guys?
I didn't ask questions during the ruck like, "Hey, can I take my pack off?" So I went up the tower with my 30-pound ruck pack, and it was like, oh man, it was bad. It was a good stage. Shooting from elevation is very deceptive, and the first pistol stage, shot through two rounds, had a malfunction, had to clear it, lost some time there, cleaned that, finished it up, ran up to the second level, or the top level, and I think it was, I want to say, like at least 100 feet up.
I mean, when I say flights, yeah, they're pretty, like you go up and then up. You zigzag back and forth to get there. So, I mean, you're probably 3 or 4 stories up. Yeah, at that point, because each stair is kind of a story. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess the pistols, yeah, probably 2 stories, and then probably 4 stories for the rifle.
Right. So up there, even though it's 100 yards away, it looks really far. And that was the hard part for me. I got the first 2 because they were like bang, and then a small little rotation, like maybe 15 degrees apart. The third one was like maybe I say a 20-degree sweep. So I couldn't find it at first through the scope, which was my mistake. I should have zoomed out or used my eyeballs. So I burned up some time there. And then the fourth one I found pretty easily, but I had a hard time hitting it because I just couldn't get the right holdover. I did time out on that one, -1. But, part of it, I think, was the pistol malfunction, and then the time taken to not not look up out of the scope. And that's just me not thinking and having that tunnel vision.
Yeah, that you'll see a lot of people, what they call, I call it turtling, where they're zoomed in too high and they pop their head up, find the target, go over, and then
Right.
pop their head back down. Mike, you got anything to say about that stage?
Yeah, so I had my numbers, so I only had to do one of the get ups with the bag. and that is one of the little known secrets of operator in the weight classes. Always ask and see what you can get away with doing without a ruck. And folks, I'm giving you one of the best secrets of running the heavy class, because whatever the ROs let you get away with, you should try to get away with for your own sake. Um, Now there is like shoot through stages at certain matches where um, it may or may not make sense to drop a ruck, but for the most part, drop the ruck, folks. All right, now forget that I told you that. The trip up the stairs went pretty well for me. Got up, did okay with pistol, ran up. I generally try to do about uh, 1x of zoom per 100 yards for most of these events. Makes target transition easier, and also you don't end up trying to over stabilize the rifle and fight too much of your breathing and create problems. On the way up, I must have bumped my zoom lever a little bit because I was in probably 1.5 power more than I would normally like to be, but I still was able to get in there, and I was a little slower on turret transitions than normal, but I got it done. The fun thing for me was coming back down the steps because they were definitely pretty damp, and some of the treads might need replaced for next year. And my speed assaults have some harder rubber, almost like cleats on the bottom, which is great on the rest of the course, but you end up with fewer contact points, and they're harder contact points when you're walking down the wood. So both of my feet decided to leave their position under my body at the same time, and I did a high speed descent down a flight of stairs on top of my Glock, my back, my rifles. Luckily, thankfully, cleared at the top, so it's pretty much a stick. But my muzzle's beating off the pickets for the railing going down. My stock's bouncing off the side of my head and the steps. And I get to the bottom, and I stand up, and I'm like, holy moly, what just happened, And the ammo can went down pretty fast with me, too. But the magwell got torn off my Glock, so Ryan and I are probably going to embark on a solder iron mission to see if we can melt the grip back, and we'll see how that goes. We'll post comical results when they happen.
Yeah, maybe
But,
maybe we'll video it.
Yeah, but I was pretty happy because on the next stage, the pistol dot was still zeroed, even though I rode the pistol down the stairs. So thank you, Safari Land and Aimpoint, for doing a good job with your products. And then the Geisley optic mount and that razor took the rapid descent and beating like a champ. So yeah, that was a fun one for me. But I do enjoy that tower. It's a unique opportunity. We don't often get to shoot from elevation like that at matches. So I hope they continue to use the tower in the future.
Yeah, that's a fun stage. I'll just real quick. So a couple of things I focus on with like a stage like that. One is when you're running up those stairs, you want to get up there pretty quick. Obviously, you're racing the clock. I don't know that it benefits you to sprint it up at max velocity, because you're going to have to do some precision shooting. So I think there's a good balance, and I think that's running and moving anywhere in a stage is you've got to balance like how fast can I go and get my heart rate up and still make precision hits. So I felt like I had a pretty quick balance of moving up there quick, but still maintaining it. I know at the rails with the pistol, I kind of rested my arm on the railing to get a little extra balance. You got one hand, you might as well help support it with a little. So my pistol hits were pretty good. I'm not a great pistol shooter, so that went well. And then once I got to the top, I actually, when I'm coming up to a running gun stage with blind stages, I usually kick my scope to about 2.5. That tends to, I could probably shoot almost anything in a match at 2.5, and probably do all right with it. Just with the reticle design and what the distances we normally shoot. So I probably had about 2.5. I immediately dropped, as soon as I got up the stairs, dropped the box, pulled the rifle off, start loading. As I headed over to the far right, because there was a rail across the top and there was something over there, and you could actually like kind of tuck up against it to help stabilize. And then, I didn't run into that problem like Bosco had. Pretty much when I had one target in view, the next one was within my field of view. So I could bing, bing, bang, straight across it pretty efficiently. So that is something that's easy to do, get a little too into your magnification. And, I just put the dot on it or the reticle on it and broke the shot. So I didn't have a whole lot of makeups on pistol or rifle. So that was easily my best stage of the weekend. I mean, if I beat Mike on a stage, I'm pretty happy about it. And that stage, I had a pretty significant time difference on that. So I don't let him forget about those. They don't happen.
Well,
they don't happen often.
yeah, and something I was going to mention is that's another good example of cross-pollinating into other competitive shooting sports can give you some really good information. Shooting run and gun is a little bit more sporadic. The ranges are more sporadic, and you don't have a lot of time to play around with different settings in your optics. And 3-gun is a great place, or if you got a range that does a 2-gun or tactical 2-gun, get out there and do those types of matches. Play with engaging targets at 1.5 power offhand at 100, 2x at 200, and try to get into places where you're got some pressure, you're on the clock, you're a little gassed, and you're doing those transitions. You're looking for those targets of different sizes, and really understand, like with the LPVO, the settings is not 1 in 6 or 1 in 10. You really can get in and access some critical speed in that mid power range. And there's a shout out to using a first focal plane reticle there. But hey, if you're inside 200 yards and you don't really have any real holds, and you can almost argue inside 250 and you don't have any real holds because you're running like a 5200 or even 100-yard zero, with a second focal plane, you can still really access that mid power range of the optic and do some good work. Ryan knows I run an old school Razor Gen 2 1-6 on a rifle, and it still got me is one of the top rifle shooters on a stage at Wolverine, and did some good work for me there. So don't think that mid power range is just for your first focal plane optics.
That is true. I will say, and I think, because I talk to people about first focal plane, they're like, well, 1x the reticle is too small, so don't shoot at 1x. Like a lot of times I zoom my magnification to where my reticle is the size I want for a stage. Like if I have time to adjust it beforehand, or like even mid stage, just grab it and yank it up, and I'll set the reticle to the size of the steel I'm shooting, and then you can just center it up like you would a red dot or something. So yeah, there's a lot you can learn if you just kind of play around. And I'll second Mike. I mean, 3-gun, I know a lot of the running gunners hate it because of the shotgun. I get it. It's not practical. I enjoy that aspect, but in most areas you can find a 3-gun match at least once a month, if not a couple of them twice a month. You get a lot of trigger time shooting a lot of different things. So there's definitely something to be learned. Same with like USPSA and your pistol skills. So anything else to add about that stage before we go on? All right. The next, you got a pretty short run to stage 4, which is, I don't know that there's a lot to say about this. They've done this the last 2 years. It's a clays range, so they have shotgun. They give you a double barrel shotgun. You tell them to pool. They throw a clay. You try to shoot it. Pool again. Throw a clay. You try to shoot that. I didn't do so well this year. One, I didn't know that the shotgun was on safe, so the first clay I missed because the safety was on. This is a rookie mistake. The second clay I think I got, but he didn't think I got it, so I didn't get anything. You guys got anything to add about that stage?
No, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, double barrel shotgun. I had an over and under. Just try to hit it. I think I hit it, but I didn't get a soldier. Or I didn't get a little token, so maybe I didn't.
Yeah, I saw a piece of clay come off of it, but I don't think he did. So it wasn't enough to argue about it. I mean, I ran on RO day. It's kind of it's kind of mass confusion anyway. So I just kind of took it, put it down, and ran on. Anything you want to add, Mike? You're muted, Mike. You're muted.
Sorry, folks. So in the past, I can't remember if they gave like shotgun hauls or something for each hit that you got. This year, I hit one clay, and I don't remember being handed anything. But I'll admit, I'm pretty rusty on my clays, and that first one I didn't quite lead it enough. I shot right behind it, and then had to kick the lizard brain and remind it that you have to lead some aerial stuff a little bit more, and then smoke that second target. But I really enjoy it, and kind of a shout out to Elk Creek Hunt Club. That clay range is absolutely awesome, and I definitely would like to get a carload of buddies down there and just shoot clays to support them and explore that facility without being gassed at 180 beats per minute.
Yeah, because they have golf carts, that you can just like cruise around and shoot clay. So yeah, we'll have to do that this summer sometime, maybe later this summer. So all right, you get done with the clays. That's stage 4. Actually, these stages come pretty quick because it's not too far of a run to stage 5, which is that's the stage that I rode all weekend, which was a little depressing to work at for a while, and we'll talk about that. So you run up, you kind of come in. It's up on top of a hill, like kind of a crest of a hill. You start off in a box, empty rifle, empty pistol. On the start beep, you draw and load your pistol, and then there are 3 targets that you neutralize with pistol in order: front, middle, and back. I don't know if I have any of these Throom targets up here. I don't think I have them down here. So if any of you shot run and gun in the East Coast any recently or Northeast, they're like a 2-inch. They make 2 and 3-inch rubber self-healing targets that just hang down on a strap. Heartbreak's used them, Legion's used them. The match directors felt like the 2-inch one was not enough, so the front one was actually cut down to probably an inch square. And I bet that was at like 5 to 7 yards. The 2-inch one then was, another couple yards after that. And then down the hill, kind of low, so it was easy to hit the ground in front of it, was like a 8-inch tall IPSC, mini IPSC. So you had to hit those each twice, again, in order. So the top, the middle, the bottom, and then top, middle, bottom with pistol. Drop your magazine, rack the round out so you're holstering a cold pistol, load your rifle, and now it's a hiked over bore challenge. You're shooting those same targets, but really, really close with a rifle. So, if you don't aim pretty high over, you got to aim a good deal over top of it or use your reticle, you're going to miss it. I saw a lot of people that did not even make it past the pistol part. At least 1 or 2 didn't even make it past the first pistol part. They just sat there for 180 seconds burning pistol ammo at it, and it was very disheartening. And it's not, it's just nothing about those people because it was a challenging target. But yeah, it was rough. So after that, you get done with your rifle, you put it on safe, you ran over to a like an elevated roof, kind of slanted roof, and you had a single target out on the hill out at 550 yard. We hit it with 2 different lasers, and they hit it with GPS. You had until the end of the timer and as many shots as you wanted, which last year they had a similar target. I think it was 525, and you only got 30 seconds and 2 shots. So it was a little bit easier. I think they had I know they had a lot higher success rate this year on that. So I did pretty well at it. Not as well as I would have liked. My pistol was a little rough. The rifle got done, and then I had a second round hit on that 550. So I was happy about that. That was not an easy target, and because I haven't found a good long range load yet. I'm just shooting like really slow 55 grain. Like I think my come up on that was 6 mils, which is a good deal. The one more thing, and they did something similar last year. So if you shot the match last year, if you ask the RO, what the distance was, I could tell you. If you did not ask me the distance, that was not in the stage brief. So some people asked, some people guessed, some people halfway through said, well, how far is that? And when I told them, they said, oh, I was thinking it was 300 yards. That's what I so it pays to ask questions sometimes. Bosco, how was that for you?
So the first two pistol targets I did fairly quickly. I had a magazine malfunction and I forgot to label the mag that was not feed. It would lock in, it wouldn't feed. So that I forgot to label. I should have labeled which one it was. But the plate, that 8-inch, I thought it was further, and I thought it was a full size plate. So I'm just banging away at it, and I'm missing it. And I mean, it was super frustrating. I think I went through the first round. I used 22 round CZ mags, and that first go around, I shot a full mag at that. Reloaded. Second time around, that far plate, just was a dumpster fire. I did complete the pistol section, but the rifle section was just like, you know what? This is not working. It's not happening. I think I shot probably about 15 rounds, just trying to find it, and it just, I just couldn't do it. Maybe my zero was slightly off. I was aiming at the post and just shooting up and down the post to try to hit it. But I mean, a 1-inch target at 8 yards, I was like, that I'm never going to shoot someone's eyeball out at 8 yards. Never. So that's now the fact that people pass that stage, kudos, good to them. I mean, for me, I was found lacking, so.
No, it was, like I said, it was there's a lot of people did not make it even over to the rifle. So you're in good company. It's challenging. Those are small targets. So like I said, it was depressing. I mean, I saw people go through 2 or 3 pistol mags and not make it past the first 3. So that's, as an RO, like, you hate seeing that. It's the stage, hopefully they learned lessons from it. But man, I just, as an RO, I want everyone to like crush the stage. If I got, I was 105 seconds on that, and like I was happy to see people beat my time, because that means that they're crushing it. Mike, what do you got to say about that stage?
Well, you definitely need to know your height over bore. It's always a very important thing, and I like when match directors bring that out because it's just such a practical skill to have. I definitely got there and had to fire a couple rounds just to find that height over bore for my rifle at that distance, but I was pretty quick on it with pistol, so that was a good thing for me. Then I was able to get a second round hit, which that was my first round of match ammo on the long range. But yeah, that's just another good lesson. And always ask, see what information that the ROs are willing to give you, and whether it's range or other helpful hints or tips, and go from there. So I really enjoyed that stage. I like those ones where you have to be quick and think on your feet to how am I going to get into the most stable position to crack this shot off and make every single round count. So really enjoyable.
Yeah, and I should have added this at the beginning because people are going to be wondering, well, why didn't these people just go on? You had to neutralize all those targets in order to go on. So, like, if you didn't get that front, like that very front 1-inch pistol target, if you didn't hit that, you couldn't shoot at the bigger one behind it. And if you didn't hit that, you couldn't shoot the one down there. So, like, by this point, because of how difficult some of these shots were, I had people come up to my stage that said, hey, I don't have any pistol ammo. Well, if you don't have pistol ammo, you can't shoot pistol targets, which means you can't shoot the rifle targets, which means you can't even shoot the long range targets. Kind of a bummer. As an RO, I hate sending people away, and but that's how you got to run it the same for everybody. That's how we did it the whole match. So, yeah, that was kind of a bummer. I'll say a couple takeaways, especially if you're running low on ammo. I saw people burn through pistol mags on these targets that just clearly at this point in their day, their shooting skills was not going to happen. If you know you have more stages to go, you may just take a DNF on that and say, hey, that pistol target is not happening for me today. I'm just going to stop. I'm going to save the rest. I got 20 rounds of ammo. I'm going to save 30. I'm going to save for the next stage. And I'm going to hope that this next stage pistol is just not as difficult, you know? And something like that's a pretty odd, like that's a pretty small target to be shooting at. The chances that your next stage is going to be easier are pretty high. I really, as RO, I'm not, you know, be fair, I can't talk to these people and like give them hints, but I just want to be like, you know, after like the second mag change, I just want to be like, stop, you know, stop. This is burning up your time and ammo, and you know, I don't think this is happening today. So, it sucks. Even as someone that's been shooting competition for like 8 years, there are times that I stop shooting at a target because it's one I should be able to shoot. I've hit the same thing 20 times. And if I'm able to like stop and move on to the next target, I just stop and move on, or I'll just say, hey, this is not, something's wrong, you know? And maybe it's you, maybe it's your zero got knocked off, or, you know, whatever it is. But just burning through 2 or 3 mags on a single target. Like, I mean, I saw people burn 2 or 3 mags on that first target and not hit it. It's like, I don't know that you're learning anything, you're accomplishing much. Like, it's good to know to just say, I cannot shoot at this, you know? No one's shooting back, so there's no reason to keep shooting. Anything else you guys want to add? No? All right. Yeah, that was a difficult stage. It was fun to work. I mean, I saw at least 2 people make hits on that 550-yard target with a red dot non-magnified scope. Sit down there, no magnification or anything. I can't do it. We did shoot it as ROs off the clock, and it's easier off the clock for sure. But I saw some pretty impressive hits and some pretty, I don't want to say people got lucky, but I saw a couple things that made me think people probably didn't mean to hit the target, even though they were trying, you know? So that was a fun stage to work.
Hey, a hit's a hit. You know?
Oh, for sure. I know one guy, and maybe he was just basing it off the elevation, but he had a second focal plane scope, and he was at 6x, and he's like aiming, and then kind of missing low because the spotter was calling your impacts. And then he switched down to like 3 or 4, and then the next round was a hit. And I thought, well, your elevation marks don't work at all when you're at 3 or 4x, you know, not the same at least. So, yeah, there was a couple. One guy had one of the guys with the red dot said he had lost his red dot 0. And then he got down there. He couldn't hit anything over on the other one. He had to flip his iron sights up, and he gets over the 550, looks to his red dot, and gets a first round hit. Literally sat down. First round he sent out there at that thing. So he's hopefully bought a lottery ticket that day is all I'm saying. So you leave 5, you head down a hill, and you hit 7 or 6, sorry. I can't count. This was the double VTAC board. If hopefully you were paying attention to the numbers at this point, because if not, this was going to be a struggle bus. And I think even if you had the numbers, it was a little bit of a struggle bus. Do you want to, this was another stage win for Mike. I know he had 3 stage wins this match. So why don't you describe this, Mike?
All right. So as you came down the hill, they had one of those lovely drainage pipes, the corrugated ones laid out. And so you had probably a 35-pound-ish, maybe 40-pound sandbag that you had to get through there. So I stepped up there, grabbed that thing, gave her a good swing, sent it about halfway down the pipe, went running it or crawling after it, pushed it out the other side. On the other side, you're presented with two VTAC boards, and they've got a bunch of numbers uh, assigned to the ports. The numbers correspond to numbers that you passed out on the course that were spray painted on signs. The order that you saw the numbers appear on the course was the order that you engaged through the ports. And they had one of those little, I think, throom targets or whatever, the little self-healing green ones. Teeny tiny little target. And so you had to not only hit that little target through the ports, but you had to do it in the right sequence. If you were not shooting the right sequence, it didn't count as a hit. That stage was set up where you went through the pistol sequence twice and then went over and did the rifle VTAC board. I believe they wanted you to do it twice as well. And I had all the numbers thanks to my arm board and a grease pencil. And even then, I don't remember dropping very, very many shots. I got completely through the pistol and decently through the rifle. I think I beat the closest person to me by 3 target engagements. So 3 targets engagement on a VTAC on the clock can feel like an eternity. I know it felt like an eternity for me because I was trying to memorize the sequences I was shooting, but just the break to get into that next position and engage that target kind of left me where I would just look at the arm board and I'd memorize the next 2 that I needed, shoot those, look at the arm board, memorize the next 2, and that's kind of what carried me through. Definitely need to work on some of that glance memory. I definitely feel like it would have been better back in like 2019 when I was doing more 3-gun, where you have to make some snap memory stuff for stage planning. But still pushed through and managed to push farther. That was my only DNF for the day, and that was a heck of a stage. Any stage where they have you shoot a VTAC once is definitely a drag race of skill. You throw cognitive stuff and you ask people to shoot a VTAC board that far into the match 4 times, and there's going to be a lot of shooting and cognitive mistakes. So I was happy I was able to hold it together enough to get as far as I did because the wheels were wanting to come off.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Bosco?
That was my least favorite match. I mean, it was fun overall, but I ran around the afternoon of the race day, and there was about an hour of torrential thunderstorms. By the time I got to that position, the pistol VTAC board, the base of it was like about an inch or so of water. So that was just, messy. I had a write in the rain pad that I wrote down the numbers in, so I had the data. But the problem is the pad is, not like the arm board. I love that idea because you just look down and grab the information. But I had to hold the pad, and then, good thing it was a write in the rain because that pad got dropped in the puddle of water several times. I finished the pistol portion. I think I only had like 6 misses in the pistol portion out of the 14 needed. There were 7 numbers. You had to go through it twice. And then when I switched over to the rifle section, I didn't hit any of them. I got like 2 rounds off and I timed out. Personal opinion, when 0 people pass the stage, you got to look at the stage design. Whether they could have done a 8-inch silhouette for pistol further out, but those little throom targets, I mean, I didn't do so bad with them. I only missed 6 times, but I think a lot of time taken trying to find that aim. And, for me, running where I ran, there were 2 bottom ports that you had to use. And I'm like, half my face is in the water trying to get that shot lined up. Once again, personal opinion, when 0 people pass the stage, you got to look at the stage and go, maybe we should redesign it. But I mean, once again, I got to suck less.
Well, and we talked to from running it on all road day, we actually talked with both the MDs on that. And they were really receptive to how to prevent that kind of thing in the future. And they had told me and Mike both, because Mike actually on RO day, which was for once, RO day had nicer weather than the shoot day. Mike was first, I was second, and they told us, hey, if you see any problems with the written stage brief, with a stage, with something, stop before you shoot or you do anything. Go on wait time. Let's fix it then. So, which is good. That I don't think we realized, and I'm sure they didn't realize before we started, that just doing it twice was probably more than reasonable in 180 seconds. Obviously, Mike got the stage win on it. Mike gets stage wins on big matches, run and gun matches all over the East Coast. I would say confidently that he is like in the top 10% of run and gunners, on the East Coast, probably in the United States. It's not a huge sport, but so if you have a guy like Mike that's shooting well, he had all the numbers. Mike doesn't miss much. That's one of his keys to success. He's not the fastest trigger puller. He just rarely misses. But if you have one of your top guys not complete a stage when they shot pretty darn well, that's probably a key that maybe it's not right, So that happens. I know Scott was talking about in the future having some people come down the day before and like one person shoot this stage or part of this stage, one person shoot this. Maybe if you're ROing it, you shoot it the day before, and basically trying to proof test the stage a little bit more to get an idea of like, is this too much or is this too little or what? I think that was some good ideas. I think as a match director, I've done stages that I thought this is good. Like, I think this will be a good stage. And then it takes way too long. Too many people are timing out or not, it's too big. It doesn't work the way that you think it's supposed to. So, I've been doing it for 3 years now and 3 gun matches. And I still have stages where it's like, ooh, I missed up there. So, I agree. It was too much. If they could have cut that stage in half and it would have been perfect. 1 pistol routine, 1 rifle routine, call it, but, yeah, you don't know till you do it. And, it kind of is what it is. I did not have all the numbers. I was missing 2, as I said earlier. So I was, I guess, smart enough that after I got through the tower and I saw another number, I put like a line under it. So I pretty well knew that it was the beginning of the sequence. So like I shot the first one and got that, shot the second number I had down. That wasn't right. So then I had to guess. I had a Write in the Rain notebook as well. It wasn't raining, so I had it on the ground. So like when I found the second number, I have to, safe my gun, put the safety on, set it on the ground, write the number down when the order it's supposed to, then pick it back up, shoot another target. Okay, that wasn't it. Here's the next one. All right, I got that. Write that down. So I found them all. I made it through the pistol, but, guessing and checking on numbers that you don't have when they're all over the place is not the way to successfully complete that course of fire. So, yeah, I made it probably further than a lot of people, but because my pistol was pretty clean, I didn't drop a whole lot of shots, even though it was a small target, but that's a slow way to run that stage. So, yeah, that was an interesting one. Legion's done similar stuff with numbers. I think 2 years ago they had radio frequencies that you had to pay attention to, and it was the same way. Like here, if you shot the wrong one, they would just say miss or wrong target or something like that, and that was your clue that you had to you hit the target but not in the right order. So yeah, we'll go on because stage 7, the last shooting stage. Bosco, do you remember much about this one? You want to share it?
Yeah, so stage 7, you had to load a magazine with 3 bullets only, and because they were forcing a reload on you. I remember you were standing behind a fence. You had to shoot weak hand. I think they were trying to get me to ask the question, can you support weak hand? And I think the answer was yes. I didn't ask the question. Once again, I'm a pretty good weak hand shot, so Didn't have any problems with that. Shoot 3 times, do the reload. It was 2 plates. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2. The first plate was maybe, gosh, a 3-inch disc, maybe like 8 yards away. It was really close. But instead of being like straight ahead, they bladed it. So you saw less of the plate, and it was a harder hit to make. So you finish with the weak hand, go to strong hand, shoot that, every other 2 times each. And then you holster, go to another barricade next to it, and there were 2 rifle targets, I believe. And you had to go left weak hand again, shoot it, hit, and then reload, and then go to your strong hand, and then hit. That was fun. I mean, I forgot the reload section, and the RO yelled at me very, very, very loudly, like, reload. I was like, oh, that was a good way to finish the match. I think it was, like I said, it's good, straightforward. I think Guardian did a great job in making you shoot weak hand, and I did talk to Perry about it earlier today, and he's like, the whole concept of Guardian is this is like if you had to protect your family. Some of the drills, some of the scenarios they do is to, like, more realistic, real life. What if your hand is shot? What if your strong hand is down? You got to make the hit, So I think more and more match directors are going towards weak hand sections and scenarios. And I think anyone who wants to be successful in the run and guns has to work in weak hand, practice sessions to make sure that they get that down.
Yeah, Mike, you got anything to add about this?
Yes. So I do enjoy that aspect of Guardian, that it kind of pushes those slightly odder scenarios. The weak hand and strong hand stuff kind of came up in my life a little bit in 3-gun, but it wasn't until I became a father and had kids and car seats and stuff that was actually something that I kind of did a little dry fire with, and practice with, not just like my competitive guns, but every once in a while, I might have a J frame on just because we're running to go visit family or something at their house, or I'm going to be crawling around on the floor with the kids. So, like, hey, I need to be able to take anything and be fairly competent with it. So I really enjoyed that. The match overall was just really a cool flavor, and I liked 7 as just kind of the final wrap up of, you still need to be able to do some weak side shooting with your rifle and your pistol, and still need to be cognitively engaged enough with what you're doing to remember reloads and things. I definitely didn't gain that stage as heavily as I could have, but still came away in pretty good shape, which is probably just kind of a testament to the experience at this point.
Yeah, and I know they were letting you use your support hand. I'm kind of the opinion, if I'm shooting with my left hand, there's a reason my right hand doesn't work. So I know they didn't let you rest, because that's one thing I tried to do, was rest my arm against the wall, and they weren't letting you rest on the wall, which that's one of those things, like, Mike talks about, like, gaming a stage or whatever. If you let me have extra support on something, I'll take extra support. I mean, part of doing well on that VTAC board was I run a pistol light on my guns. So, like, quite a few of those barricades, I'd actually push my muzzle, not the muzzle, but the light up against the barricade to kind of help steady a little bit. If you're kind of on the ground leaning sideways, having and you got to watch your muzzle. Obviously, you don't want to shoot the wood, but putting that light up against it and getting the barrel just up kind of helps. I mean, you gotta be careful. When you're resting a pistol, you can throw off your aim, but it does give you a little more support. So stages that let you use things to support on difficult shots is not a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. It's kind of interesting because from like the RO day / gamer perspective, some of the briefs on RO day came off to me, and I'm just going to say came off because you're tired. It's your perception. But I even asked some gamer questions and kind of came away with like stage 1 was unsupported, weak hand, strong hand. Well, when I go and read the brief as the RO, I'm like, it doesn't say anything about that. So if somebody wants to, support their hand against the wall or something, then that's okay. Now, was that my perception, or was that just RO day? There's little things there, but always ask those questions. Take that time before you tell them that the shooter's ready to ask that 5-10 seconds of questions, and make sure you understand the stage. That was one thing that I saw a lot of people. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, not even close. They instantly went from strong hand to try to go weak hand. A lot of people trying to double taps. And finally, in the end, just because of our rain delay, I was running shooters through stage 1 so quick that the best way for me to convey what needed done was to break out a knife hand. And the military law enforcement people definitely can understand. Like when I am pointing at targets and giving you strong hand only, and giving you the order that you're going to engage the targets, and move, and then transition to my weak hand and give in that direction, it makes it really clear. Well, guess what? When the ROs give you your stage brief, you can repeat it back to them to the best of your understanding and go through the physical motions of pointing at the targets in the order that you want to engage them and how you want to engage them. And if the ROs clear it, then that gives you that one extra rep before you're on the clock. I know sometimes I'm not good about taking the time to do that, and but really the level of shooters have gone up so much in the running gun space that you need those tenths of seconds on the clock, especially if you're chasing those podiums. So take the time, set yourself up for success. The ROs, for the most part, will understand why you're taking that time, because a lot of them are chasing the podium in the same way.
You're on mute.
Thank you. Rookie mistake. Even if you don't have time to ask, or you don't think, not time, if you don't think about it, I didn't think about asking to rest there. It's just when I started leaning, I was like, oh, there's a wall. I'm going to rest against it. The worst that can happen is an RO says, you can't rest off the wall. Okay, I know when I ran up the stairs with that, and I didn't think about it at the bottom, when I ran up with the tower stage with the ammo box, when I got up there, I rested the box on top of the railing and shot down that way because they didn't tell me I couldn't. I put it on there. No one said anything. So like I said, I rested my wrist, and I had felt like I had a pretty secure, or a little better, way of holding that than just trying to hold it by my side. So sometimes it's worth trying things. And if they say no, then, you hold it by your waist and you do your thing.
So on that power stage, was that pistol section?
What's that?
Was that the pistol section you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, I tried that. They said, no, you have to hold it. And I was like, oh, okay.
Really?
So I had to hold it the entire time.
And I think Mike said something like that. I didn't ask. I just set it up there and no one said anything. But this is kind of the thing when you shoot RO day, sometimes, I don't want to say you get an advantage. Sometimes like things like that get through. And then when like one or two people have gone, it gets weeded out. And then other times the ROs kind of get screwed and they get like the harder way and things get more loose as the match goes on. It's, everyone tries to put on a safe match, but unless you have the same RO run every last single person, it's rarely is it 100% the same. So, yeah, right. You'll just have that stuff. I guess I got lucky in that case. it probably made a difference. I mean, I don't know. I still had a pretty good lead on that. Maybe it didn't make 20 seconds different, but maybe it did. It's really hard to tell. But that's kind of the RO day. I mean, that stage with the VTEC boards, Bosco was laying in water, and I was in. It rained some during the day, so it was muddy. But I'd say I got the better end of that deal than him. But
I did RO day at Riverbend once, and there was a 600-yard target, and they were using the magneto sensors, the little lights, and they were not calibrated right because I fired the first round, and the guy goes, hit. I'm like, okay. And I think I got 4 hits on the long distance where I was like, I probably only got 2.
Yeah. I mean, everyone wants to have a fair match, but it's like there's a lot of variables on it, and sometimes you get lucky, and usually RO day you get shafted more than you get lucky. I mean, me and Mike, I know from following him, the trail was marked, but I got lost a couple times. If you run late in the day on a race, there's no question as to where the trail goes because 1,000 people, 100 some people have been through it, and it's fairly well trod for the most part. You're the first person.
Unless it's rained,
Yeah,
it just turns into oatmeal.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, when you go first, it's harder to track, and I know the RO stage briefs were a lot longer, as far as on your run time, because they're not sure how the stage works, and that's just, if you go on RO day, you don't pick that because you want to be the most competitive that you can be. So, yeah, that's an aside. So you finished up with stage 7.
Well,
go on, Mike.
I was just going to say, here's a little message brought to you by the Forward Control Design Ducky. And a long time ago, someone gave me one of those motivational posters you got to hang on the wall. And it's attitude. What happens to a man is less significant than what happens within him. And I think run and gun is such a classic thing for that because, whether it's run and gun and you get kind of a rough stage brief or, you get a malfunction or something, the choices you make on those stages and in your run, a lot of that comes straight out of your attitude. And I've been pretty fortunate to kind of learn that, like, man, just one thing going wrong should not tank your match. Whether it's ripping the mag well off and tearing up a Glock or not having a real hot stage, what you mentally do afterwards sets up the rest of your match as a success or a failure. And on stage 1, I saw so many people when they're not getting their hits, they're literally miss, shake their head, no. Miss, shake their head, no. Well, they are cognitively building up defeat inside themselves. Or when they're, yelling at themselves or cussing at themselves and come on. And so you can pretty much see their demeanor change as they're getting ready to leave the stage. And, those things, whether it's a shooting or falling on the trail or struggling with an obstacle or, having a scope, smack your forehead if you fall on it, all these different things, really your attitude is going to carry you through to have success in the end or failure. So I just saw that and was just like, Guardian is a great example of, with those really tough shooting stages, really tough environmental factors, people's attitude made a huge difference in how they placed.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I burnt through a whole pistol mag on stage 1 before really quickly. Like, I still had a lot of hits to go, and I burnt through that and did that reload. And I guess from shooting long enough, it really, instead of getting discouraged, I just kind of clicked in my head, okay, you've got to get a good sight picture, you got to get a good trigger pull, and you've got to conserve ammo here. You can't bleed. So instead of being really discouraged, it just kind of clicked that, like, all right, let's I don't want to say slow down and get your hits, because I don't really believe in that, but you've got to focus and not just start slinging lead, and if I let that one stage set the tone for the rest of my match, especially with pistol, stage 5 would have been awful, because the pistol hits on stage 5 were way harder than stage 1. I mean, they're way smaller. They're about the same distance. So yeah, you're right. You've got to get your mindset right. Man, Mike, you're a little Buddha. I'm gonna rub your belly for luck next time I see you. You know that?
Deep thoughts
All
with the
right.
forward control design, Ducky.
So next thing, you leave 7. You got a little bit more running through the woods. Actually, there was a pretty good hill. I hate to have seen it when Bosco ran through, because Friday when we ran it and there had been some Jeeps or trucks up it, it was slick as snot on Friday, like very difficult on Friday. So Saturday after that monsoon, that had to been awful.
Okay, so going up that hill, I just sat there and I looked at it and it was super slippery and I had to like do the duck walk. And then like about a third of the way up, I'm just like, so I'm a big Band of Brothers fan. And I just kind of click it up just like, Curry! And I was like, all right, I'm just going to do this. Like one foot in front of the other, not running fast because I'm dead tired. But, trying to get motivated, trying to like just overcome that mentality of like, this is impossible, because it was hard, I was also kind of tenuous because having already done most of the match with that pack, I was just dead tired. My legs were toast. And it would have been very easy for me to slip and fall and hurt myself on that. And I did not want that, So I think motivating myself and just doing it, one foot in front of the other, get on that hill, get up that hill.
Yeah, I'm sure it was rough. So you get up the hill, you got a little bit more running, you end up back at the lake. Well, the MDs had said in the year before that a lot of people, when they didn't like the lake, they said, well, I'm never going to swim across the lake in a shit hits the fan situation because I would just steal a boat. Well, careful what you wish for, because this year they had a whole bunch of kayaks there. You could dump your gear off there. I just put my rifle and pistol or whatever, and you had to get in a kayak, push yourself in the water, kayak across the water to the other side, turn around, kayak back, pull the kayak out, and then you were on your way to the end. Anything to add? You guys want to add, Bosco? Anything you want to add about the kayak part?
No, I mean, it was pretty straightforward. I felt like I was a little unstable in the kayak. I don't do much kayaking. And when I started digging really deep with the paddle, I'd feel myself shake and get unstable. And then I just started taking shallower pulls, but quicker. And it was just kind of like each paddle was just skimming across the water. And I got a pretty good pace going. I think I made it pretty fast across, but I took off my rifle and the ruck. But I had like all my other gear and I had my cell phone in my chest rig. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna fall. And when I got to the shore, I took my cell phone and I tossed it onto the shore just in case I slipped when I got out of the boat.
Yeah. Anything to add, Mike? Nope. Okay.
Had to turn my speaker on. Pulling primers off the shelf. Thanks for bearing with me, folks. So, the kayak section was fun for me. I grew up in kayaks, and even that is kind of one of those things where little things can make a difference in terms of safety and cognitive thought. Even though I prefer for recreation a sit-in kayak, I chose a sit-on kayak for our event because with the steep banks, launching and getting in and out was much easier with a sit-on. I actually launched and then popped on my knees like I was kneeling on a paddleboard, and then once I got moving, swung my feet underneath me and out front and sat on the seat, and that worked really well. And then I was able to maintain a really good, strong pace across that, just from muscle memory. But I enjoyed it as the mix up because we all saw the line across there and we're like, what's going on over there? The night before we ran, so that was a good time. And then after that, I was able to have enough gas that once I got up past the RO lodge, I was able to hoof a decent pace in. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I've never ridden on if I've ridden on a kayak it's been a while. So I actually, like, when I got on, like, the seat that was there felt too far forward. And I don't think I ever actually sat where you're supposed to. I was like a little further back, but yeah, I made it across fairly quick. And yeah, it was it's different, I think I was on a kayak on a lake when I was like 15. That's probably the last time I've been anywhere near a kayak. So yeah, you finished up with kayak. You went around the lake. One more pretty good size hill. It definitely crushed your soul a little bit going up it. It wasn't real long. It was just kind of steep, grassy hill. And then from there, yeah, you hit some pavement, and it was a sprint to the end, or push for whatever you had. So I thought it was a great match. They added a lot of variety. It's definitely different than, I mean, every match we have kind of up around us just has its own little flavor, and they all do their own thing, which I really like. So let's go in. Bosco, what specifically did you really like about this match?
I mean, I love seeing the people. Seeing Ashley, Melanie, all the ROs, especially the guys I met at Legion, the match directors. It's kind of like every run and gun is kind of like a reunion with some with all your delinquent crazy friends. But overall the shooting was good. It was very challenging. I felt like the terrain was a lot harder than I'm used to. The Carolinas, we have some hills, but nothing that bad. Nothing that consistent. And the closest one is probably Riverbend, with a lot of their hills. Sawmill that Ellis does is also got a decent amount of hills as well. Those were the great things, and look forward to doing it next year.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mike, how about you?
I really, really enjoyed seeing all my extended family. It's kind of like a big family reunion when I get to see everyone, whether it's competitors that I'm seeing them run up to my stage, and there's a couple of them that are my favorite. Like when I see John McClain come flying into my stage, it's like, hey, it's John McClain, and just so many other great people. And as they're heading out, and they're saying bye, and see you at the next one, it's just a great feeling. So I really enjoyed that. And Elk Creek Hunt Club is just an absolutely beautiful facility. They did a great job of providing for the ROs this year with the accommodations, and the MD did a great job feeding us, and it was just a phenomenal experience. And the train there is definitely a unique challenge. Coming from a lot of runs at Rock Castle, there were still some decent flats to trot, and Elk Creek is an awful lot of up or down. In the past, as I build up my conditioning, I'm doing a little bit better at Elk Creek, but in the past, I would say that Elk Creek's 4-ish miles normally leaves me as spent as doing a 10K at another facility. So that's just kind of a tip of the hat to utilizing the hills and the train there, and giving their runners a great physical challenge. And I also really thoroughly enjoyed shooting that mini that was sent from Samson Manufacturing out to Scott Kiefner. So he was kind enough to let us check that out, and I know Ryan and I had a great time. I'm sure that videos of the shenanigans will probably make their way out at some point. So thank you, even though we were not the intended recipient of that great joy. Samson took great care of us.
Yeah, Scott had a Ruger Mini 14 with like the folding stock kit, like from A-Team, and he had asked us if we wanted to shoot it sometime. So towards after the match, we said, "Hey, we still want to shoot this thing." So he gave us each a box of 20 rounds and said, "Just go to wherever it's safe." And I pretended to be Hannibal Smith. Mike pretended to be B.A. Baracus, because clearly he looks like B.A. Brackus. And we both basically just mag dumped into a safe berm near a big pond and just lived out childhood fantasies of being the A team. So I kind of want one of those now. I guess I'll have to find a Mini 14 and buy
There's
one.
there's one in a pawn shop near me.
You need to buy it. You will not regret buying it. I will tell you that. So yeah, my takeaway, it's an awesome match. We'll give out some kudos. Mike Ford took first place in the operator and 6th overall, which he was the first place in shooting. So he was the best shooter of the weekend. Still put in, I will say, chasing him, I was not, with wait times and just the way the course was, I was not able to catch him. My run time, because I had wait time following him, like I kept catching him, like right before he'd shoot a stage, he'd start shooting and I'd catch up with him. But so I had a faster run time, but that's a heck of a run time with 40 pounds of weight. So he placed high. I ended up, that's not the highest match finish I've had, but that was a significantly higher. I think I was 7th in the division and 8th overall. So I was pretty happy with that. I mean, if I can get a top 10 finish in a match, I'm pretty happy about that. But I thought it was a great match. Like Mike said, the accommodations were great. They treat their ROs well. It's just an interesting match to shoot. There was good bourbon down there. It was that's always important for a good match. All the people are great. I mean, I meet more and more people at these matches and get to having fun with them. So yeah, I've got no complaints. So I'll be headed back again next year if they'll have us back. So I guess we'll wrap this up real quick. Bosco, do you want to talk about your company, because you sponsor a lot of these run and guns, stuff on the prize table and ammo giveaways and stuff. So I know the run and gun community appreciates that. So kind of talk about your day job a little bit.
Sure. So I do I have a company called Overwatch Financial. What I do is I help people with their financial planning. A lot of it is just one-on-one talks about, like, where are you at? Where do you want to be? Are you on track to get there? If you are on track, the main focus is trying to make sure that we the phrase I like to use is hide money from the government, of course, in a legal way. Because, well, think about this. IRS, 89,000 IRS agents just got hired, right? So you have to do things in a legal way. But it's just maximizing your returns, getting into tax-free areas. If you're not on track, we try to figure out how to get you on track. I pretty much work exclusively with the shooting community. I've got over 35, 40 clients, and I'd say about 80% of that is from the shooters. I sponsor Ellis's matches, Riverbend, 17 South guys. I'll be at Legion this year as well. On my own, I also do a lot of, like, the local Carolina shooting. PSA is headquartered in Carolinas, and they host a ton of matches. There's just a great opportunity for, what I do to help people, because, I may not be able to help you today, but I know in a year or two, you're like, hey, I'm retiring from my job, or I've got an old 401k. Well, hey, can you help me out? And that's really what I'm here for, is the relationship. I don't want to, like, be a burden. I want to be invited back to the party. That's kind of the thing, So, the main thing is helping people. If I can help you, then I'd love to be able to sit down with you guys and figure it out. Another thing is I work with Wilder Tactical. They make belts, kits, accessories. A lot of it is for law enforcement, and they're trying to get into the shooting world. And go check them out if you have a chance. It's wildertactical.com. It's a veteran-owned company. One of the products that I was showing the guys is their new pouch. It's an expandable pouch. So this will fit AR mags, AK mags, 308 mags. I shoot a lot of AK with PSA. They have 2 matches every year called AK Masters and Winter Motherland. And for that I don't have to change my kit up. I just shove an AK mag in there and I'm good to go. But it's been great working with the people in the run and gun community, and just like I said, ultimately it's I feel like I'm helping my family.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, that's what it's about. We there's a lot of companies that we are almost forced to give our money to do business with because it's something we need, that are not 2A friendly. So there, if you need investment stuff, spend it with someone who's part of the community there. So I'm gonna have to look at those because I have an AKN 308. So it is good having one kit that does everything. So I need to get on. I've got an AK, but I don't shoot it much because I need to get a stamp on it so I can put a buttstock on it and stay legal and all that. So give Uncle Sam some more of my money. So thanks you guys for watching this. I know it ran a little bit long, but it's a fun match and it's hard to skip over all the fun. So once again, this is sponsored by Primer & Co. Check them out at primerandco.com. So thanks and have a great night.